Hello, everyone. Here is Tatiana Bazzichelli from the Disruption Network Club, and I'm very happy to introduce the second day of our conference, Artivism, the art of subverting power. And this is also a very special conference for us because it's the conference number 30. So it's a big celebration that we are doing, and I'm very happy that despite the good weather of today, there is also a great audience here at the 𝗥𝗲𝗀𝗃𝗁𝗁. And I will do a short introduction today because the program is very dense. But I want to remember the audience online that they have the possibility to use our online chat and also communicate with the speakers during the day and ask questions directly through our team. So remember to do that, and at the same time I was to mention everyone that we also have a Telegram channel, and so you can find it through our website and also subscribe and be sure that you get the update from us. So first of all, I also would like to thank the team of the Disruption Network Club that did a really great work to reach these days, and all the speakers that came today and yesterday and also will be with us until Sunday. I also want to do a great thank to our funders and cooperation partners. In particular, I want to thank the Senate Department for Culture and Europe of Berlin, the Riva and David Logan Foundation, the Open Society Foundation, and we are also part of a new Perspective for Action that is a project by Reimagine Europe, co-funded by the European Union. Yesterday, we also had already a very dense program in which we connected the discourse of AI, technology, the question of why artivism is still important today in the context of surveillance, of big data. But at the same time, we also connected with the discourse of technology and bureaucracies of domination. And today, the program also starts with the very important moments for us at the Disruption Lab, and specifically also for me and my fellows from Italy, the network of Italian underground movements, hacker movement, activist movement, because we want to remember Giacomo Verde. And we start with this video that I will describe then in very short time. That was also his last performance. He passed away in May 2020. And after that, we will have the keynote with the Yes Man and Cornelia Solfranc. And we will conclude then the day with a very wonderful panel in which we will discuss on the discourse of activism, subvertisement, ad-busting, and also how we can face and try to understand which actions we could do in the relationship to the climate crisis. Also, I want to remember everyone that tomorrow there will be free workshops, so you can still subscribe to them. And there will be one in the morning with 𝗥𝗲𝗀𝗃𝗁𝗁. That is about investigating the supremacist cuteness, so the way also military agendas are used through cuteness on different internet, social media, and the question would be also what is the limit between experimentation and military propaganda and how we can entangle, understand better this. And then we also will have a workshop with Yasmin Boudieff on the intersection between private contract and corporation and the public sector, and also how we can understand better these contracts. And also a workshop with 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏 that will be speaking today at the last panel, in which we will investigate also the idea of activism today and trying to share methodology of action and art. And I want to remember that this workshop workshop is not here at Studio One, but will be at Super. So it's a location that is not far from here, and you can find all the instruction on our website. But now let's go into the discourse of the homage to Giacomo Verde and also his wonderful performance that is called The Little Diary of Ailments, that in Italian is translated as Il piccolo diario dei malanni. And it's like the last performance from Giacomo Verde that I also want to describe as a wonderful person, as a friend, and also somebody that really contributed to write the history of Italian net art, digital art, and hacker culture, and was a dear friend of all of us. And you will see which person he is also through this video that's also combined the art that he loved to put together, that was theater, performance, activism, net art, the idea also to try to understand systems of power, and also in very difficult situation, because we will see from the video, since he was sick at the moment, he was always having hope and inspired the people in a very wonderful way. And so we were all together in trying to understand also how to remember Giacomo, and we created an event in Viareggio last December that was also called Artivism, that was like a prelude to the conference of today. And some of the people that co-organized the events as a network with me and many other realities in Italy will be speaking at the panel after this video. The Superazione collective, the Dada collective, and also Guido Segni. I will introduce them properly later. But also I want to say that I want to thank specifically Karen, Lawrence, Murat, and Paola for the subtitles, because it's at this event that we translated the Piccolo Diario dei Malanni into English. So we are showing to an international audience for the first time. And then after this conference, we will also put available on our website another small video that is about the chat of Giacomo after the performance. It's called 𝗥𝗲𝘀𝗶𝘃𝗶𝘁, that means chats in Italian. So you will be able also to watch that. So yeah, I also feel personally to thank Giacomo, even if he's not here with us anymore, but has been also very important for my life, for my artistic practice, and for many of us in Italy that got to know him. Thank you.
Troppo buoni, già subito così all'inizio, un applauso. Allora, buonasera, sono molto contento che siete qua stasera a seguire l'esposizione di questo mio piccolo diario dei malanni. Tutto è iniziato, questa storia del piccolo diario dei malanni, quando mio fratello, che è un informatore medico, mi ha regalato questa roba qua, questa penna, che è una, come si dice, che assomiglia alle punture per come si chiama, per i diabetici, no? Per l'insulina, la puntura per l'insulina, e questa Moleskine pubblicitaria, no? Che lui regala ai dottori. Questi sono proprio due classici gadgettoni che vengono regalati ai medici dagli informatori medici, no? E mio fratello, quando la famiglia si ritrova, spesso regala questi gadget a tutti noi della famiglia, no? A volte appunto sono delle penne, delle pennette USB, insomma, cose diverse, tutte sempre griffate, diciamo così. Quindi quando lui mi ha regalato questa Moleskine e questa penna, io ho pensato, beh, adesso che ci faccio io con questa roba? E allora mi è venuto in mente di recuperare una cosa che io non facevo più da un tot di tempo. Era il Natale 2011 che mi ha regalato questa cosa qua. Era da un po' di tempo che io non disegnavo e non tenevo più un diario, una cosa appunto che prima facevo, che poi ho abbandonato perché da quando è arrivato il cellulare, il computer e così via, chissà perché ho smesso di scrivere e di disegnare, no? Ho fatto altre cose, insomma. Perché ho detto, vai, dai, recuperiamo questa idea, visto che c'è questa Moleskine. Quindi sono andato a ripescare questo piccolo kit da viaggio che usavo. Vedete, un kit da viaggio con delle micromatitine, si vedono? Tutte colorate, carine. E quindi con questo kit da viaggio di micromatitine, questa Moleskine e questa penna, ho deciso di fare questo piccolo diario e di cominciare a scrivere, chiedendo agli amici inizialmente che erano in viaggio con me, quali erano le malattie che si ricordavano quando erano piccini, eccetera, eccetera, eccetera. E poi la cosa è andata avanti. E quindi è venuto fuori poi questo diario, no? In questo modo qua, che adesso vi leggerò. Ma prima di passare alla lettura del diario, voglio fare un prologo. Questa qua è una mela, ok? Ma come si mangia una mela? Esistono sostanzialmente 3 modi di mangiare la mela. Si sbuccia, normalmente col coltello, si sbuccia così, e poi magari si taglia a spicchi o a pezzi e si mangia. Oppure si taglia subito a spicchi e poi si sbuccia, si toglie il pezzo di torsolo e si mangia. Oppure si taglia a spicchi e si mangia magari senza sbucciare, togliendo soltanto il pezzo di torsolo e così via. Sostanzialmente sono 3 modi di mangiare la mela. 4? Ah, è vero, mi sono dimenticato, c'è anche quello a morsi. C'è un altro modo a morsi che si mangia e si butta via il torsolo, il famoso torsolo. È vero, mi era sfuggito, ma ragazzi. Però poi un giorno ho letto che le mele, che ogni mela tiene nascosto un simbolo di vita, un simbolo, un segreto. E però per scoprirlo questo simbolo bisogna tagliare la mela in un altro modo, ovvero così. Non so se voi l'avete mai fatto, però tagliando la mela così viene fuori una stella a 5 punte, che è un simbolo di vita, è il simbolo dell'uomo ed è anche il simbolo dell'immortalità. Forse è per questo che si dice che una mela al giorno leva il medico di torno. Io se non l'avessi letto su questo libro, che è un libro che parla appunto di simbologie e cose così, non mi sarei mai messo a tagliare la mela in questo modo qua. Cioè proprio non ci avrei mai pensato, perché appunto uno mangia sempre le cose, fa le cose come le vede fare, come è consuetudine, come è sempre stato fatto. Tagliare la mela in quest'altro modo qui è veramente un cambio di prospettiva. Un cambio di prospettiva che non ti viene da fare se non c'hai un'informazione che ti dà un cambio di prospettiva, se non succede qualche cosa che ti dice si può fare in un altro modo. Questo è il piccolo prologo. E adesso comincio a leggere il piccolo diario. Queste sono le prime prove di scrittura, gli scarabocchi, vedete? Il primo appunto è del 7 gennaio 2012. Siamo in autostrada. Si va a fare spettacolo a Porto San Giorgio, in furgone, con Renzo e Daniele. Il mio amico Renzo si è rotto il braccio quando aveva 9 anni, forse, questo è il braccio ingessato, ma non si ricorda bene se se l'è rotto cadendo dalla bici oppure giocando a pallone. Daniele invece si ricorda che si è beccato 3 punti sulla fronte quando era piccolo e poi di un legamento stiracciato, anche questo per colpa del pallone. Io invece mi ricordo che quando avevo 6 anni un cane, che sembrava tranquillo, almeno così sembrava, mi fece un buco nella mano perché mi ha morso e si dovrebbe ancora vedere il segno del buco qua nella mano, non so se si vede così con la telecamera, c'è un Si vede? Bah, vabbè, non importa. Io lo sento. Ci ricordiamo tutti della famosissima borsa del dottore e ci chiediamo, sarà ancora così? E poi ci ricordiamo del gelido stetoscopio. Ve lo ricordate voi il gelido stetoscopio? Che freddo che faceva proprio, tutte le volte che te lo mettevano lì. Entriamo in una galleria. Disegno simbolico? Bah, vediamo. A un certo punto, non ricordo chi, tira fuori l'argotone in gocce per il raffreddore che sfondava tutto. Io non me lo ricordavo proprio dell'argotone in gocce. Voi l'avete mai sentito? L'argotone? No? E loro si ricordavano questo argotone in gocce. Vabbè, sfondava tutto, erano tutti contenti loro. Vabbè. Invece ci ricordiamo tutte e tre di quando si stava sotto la coperta con il famoso 𝗥𝗲𝘀𝗶𝘀𝗁. Quello sì, tutti lì, con tutti i vapori di 𝗥𝗲𝘀𝗀𝗁. E poi viene fuori questa storia dell'ameba istolitica messicana, che si riconosce dal sombrero qui, vedete? Che ha preso, appunto messicana perché l'ha presa Renzo quando era in Messico, e che se l'è curata con le pillole Flagyl. Si vede la pillola che fa cadere il sombrero e quindi fa fuori l'ameba contro questa ameba, la grande pillolona. Aiuto! Questo è il grido d'aiuto di Renzo dal Messico, dove ha preso l'ameba, dove dice che appunto ammalarsi all'estero è un vero casino. Questo è ancora Renzo, che gli piace raccontare, gli piace dire cose. Renzo stavolta è a letto, ammalato da bimbo, contento perché la mamma, perché non va a scuola, e il babbo gli ha preso un giornalino e la mamma gli ha fatto la minestra. Ecco, questi sono i momenti belli delle malattie, quando uno si ammala che è contento di essere ammalato. Più tardi, albergo Hotel Garden, 7 gennaio 2012, dopo cena. Televisione. In televisione mi pare che danno più pubblicità di prima di medicine per la gastrite. Segno dei tempi. Il mondo è uno stomaco inacidito. A me il mal di pancia viene dalla rabbia, dal nervoso, ovvero dal fatto di non riuscire ad esprimere con facilità la rabbia che mi viene per la mancanza di soldi, per le ingiustizie sul lavoro, ma anche per la preoccupazione per un futuro incerto. Ma ho mai avuto un futuro certo? Ed ecco qua il disegnetto dove c'è un contenitore che contiene rabbia, nervoso, preoccupazioni sul futuro e un tappo che può essere, questo tappo qui può essere un tappo sociale, psicologico, storico, economico, familiare, mediatico. Insomma, sto tappo tiene tutto questo chiuso, no? E tutto questo fermenta e crea acidità di stomaco che brucia. Se la TV fa tanta pubblicità per le medicine gastriche, evidentemente ci sono molti ammalati di mal di pancia, paura del futuro, rabbia repressa, nervosismo, infelicità generica, e le multinazionali della medicina ci guadagnano. Questo probabilmente è il famoso complotto farmaceutico, di cui si sente parlare, no? 1 febbraio, un mese dopo, 1 febbraio 2012, mattino, Roma, Italia 1, no, Italia's Got Talent, trasmissione di Canale 5. Un altro talent dove sfruttano la sindrome di inesistenza, una nuova malattia secondo me che esiste per noi. Sfruttano la sindrome di inesistenza attraverso l'uso delle videocamere. Infatti, si mostrano alle videocamere le proprie produzioni creative nella speranza che servono a dare prova della propria esistenza. Esistenza? Mi viene da chiedere. 3 marzo 2012, un mese dopo più o meno. Roma, OC Hotel, ore 16:10. Giorni strani questi. 1. L'altro giorno, per venire qua a Roma, non avevo soldi per la benzina e autostrada. 2. I 𝗏𝗏 protestano giustamente, ma la TV trasmette quasi solo bugie sulle loro ragioni. 3. È morto Lucio Dalla. Vi ricordate? Quando morì Lucio Dalla? Come ricorderò queste giornate? Sono con Beat al talent show in semifinale, stasera diretta TV. Beat è questo personaggetto che io ho animato con un guanto virtuale per un po' di tempo, fatto un computer grafica, e quindi ci avevano invitato in questa trasmissione appunto per fare una cosa più strana, più moderna. Allora, una trasmissione che non vedo mai e mai avrei pensato di partecipare. Ancora una volta la fame, lo stomaco vuoto, mi spinge a fare cose che spero mi possano sfamare. Funzionerà? Intanto lo stomaco è pieno dal cibo offerto dalla produzione e ho voglia di fare qualcosa per appoggiare la protesta dei 𝗏𝗏. Come finirà? Vedo questo. Sul tavolino un mazzo di mimose. Per festa della donna o festa alla donna? Che qua preferiscono senza gonna, insomma, in mutande? Ma anche in pantaloni, ovvero che assume il peggior comportamento degli uominoni, personal power. Così. In effetti la redazione di Italia's Got Talent erano tutte donne, cattivissime, durissime, veramente non avevo mai visto una redazione, un gruppo così personal power, veramente. Malattie psicotiche del nostro tempo o malattie politiche piuttosto del nostro tempo? Ciao ciao. 14 marzo 2012. Treno Milano, Viareggio, Lucca. Ore 15:18. Uffa, niente TV, niente finale Got Talent. E questo va anche bene. Ma soprattutto no transmission su vacanze e cibo con 𝗏𝗏𝘁. Sembrava che potessi fare il conduttore di una trasmissione con la regia di 𝗏𝗏𝘁. Invece oggi mi ha detto che la produzione ha scelto un altro conduttore. Che miseria. Maremma TV broccola. TV piatto con broccoli fumanti. Adesso che speravo di fare l'atto rucolo in TV senza pensieri Intel creativi, non mi vogliono. E mi tocca continuare a provare a fare l'artista creativo, il famoso mago Jack, che fa magia creativa col rischio di sopravvivenza. Il televisore in bilico rappresenta il rischio di sopravvivenza. Domenica 25 marzo 2012, ore 14:46, treno Lucca-Firenze Milano. Questo è il momento poetico del piccolo diario. Gli alberi sono in fiore, evviva il melo, il pero e il pesco. Ed io sono in treno con solo 15 euro in tasca e niente in banca. 9 ore di viaggio con il biglietto che costava meno, ma almeno viaggio. Mi pare che basti. Giovedì 19 aprile 2012, ore 21:22. Treno Macerata Fabriano Roma. Quante cose succedono quando meno te lo aspetti e con che velocità, swish. 10 aprile, martedì. Telefonata da Canale 5 per una trasmissione condotta da Beat. Un vero progettone. Si organizzano le riprese per un numero 0. 12, 13, 14 aprile. Mormoro agli amici della proposta di Canale 5. 15 e 16 aprile. A Trieste, Bit intervista Margherita Hack, vecchia stella in pensione. Bellissima. A Milano, Canale 5, si registrano brani di Bit per il Beat Show. Dovrebbe andare in onda ogni domenica alle 20:15 circa. Un vero progettone. 17, 18, 19 aprile. Io sono a Macerata a fare il prof. Così. A Milano montano il programma e dicono è bellissimo, è bellissimo. Segretaria di produzione che dice che è bellissimo. Ma oggi, 19 aprile, il grande capo TV di Canale 5 dice Bit e Ganzo, ma trasmissione no. Ferma tutto. E così, mentre pensavo che si svoltava, alla fine si torna in giù. Porca miseria. Ma ci dicono no, non detta ultima parola non detto, ripensare e riparlare, sì, ripensare e riparlare. Intanto penso, ci hanno fatto lavorare come schiavi, erano sicuri e poi ci hanno fatto sperare e poi quasi impegnare di più e poi no. Siamo davvero nelle loro mani? Davvero? Su, dritto, giù, nelle loro mani? Ma potremmo anche decidere di saltare dove ci piace. Un po' sono contento perché posso vedere Tommasino, mio figlio, e stare più tranquillo, come un fiume tranquillo, pensare, come pecore tranquille e brucare, meditare e scureggiare. Pronto? – 16 maggio 2012. Treno Lucca-Firenze-Roma, ore 9:45 circa. Ancora in treno senza una lira, anzi €1. Essere depressi non serve a niente, ma viene così spontaneo. Soffro per colpe non mie. Spesso si soffre per colpa di altri. Ai 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 ai. Basta. Sono stanco. Non ho più voglia di scrivere. Tanto a che serve? Fine il primo tempo. Allora, grazie. Approfitterei di questa fine del primo tempo per mangiarmi un pezzetto della mela, così magari mi levo il medico di turno. Devo dire che da quando ho cominciato a tagliare e a mangiare la mela in questo modo qua, ho scoperto che per esempio non si butta via niente, a parte il picciolo che non si mangia. Però tagliandola così veramente si mangia tutto, anche il torsolo, perché il torsolo non si vede più, sparisce completamente. E poi ho scoperto che cambia sapore, veramente cambia sapore, è molto più buona. A me mi sembra molto più buona. Aspetta, va. È più buona. Non c'è niente da fare. E ho capito come mai la mela è al centro di tante storie che hanno a che fare con la sapienza, con la vita, con la morte. D'altra parte c'è dentro questo bellissimo simbolo. E veramente mangiandola così, cioè, è un'altra cosa. Ci credete? Facciamo una cosa. Ve la faccio assaggiare, va. Dai, per te taglio quest'altro pezzetto. L'altro me lo piglio io. Volete? Andiamo avanti così. È buona, a me mi sembra, a me mi ha cambiato proprio il sapore. Vado avanti? Secondo tempo. Kassel, documenta 13, 7 giugno 2012, ore 17:46. Non sono stato preciso. Kassel, lo sapete, è una mostra internazionale d'arte contemporanea. È come se fosse la Biennale di Venezia, però ancora più esagerata, ancora più grande in Germania. Ero lì a fare un'installazione. Allora, mostra internazionale di disadattati. Forma giusta, ok, no, disadattato. Gli artisti fanno a gara per mostrare il proprio disadattamento. Queste sono le diverse forme di disadattamento degli artisti. E i critici controllano e indicano chi è il disadattato più giusto, forma di riferimento del disadattativo con il critico che lo indica, mentre i galleristi controllano la forma più vendibile, e questo è il gallerista con la bilancia di vendibilità disadattativa. Eccolo qua. Nel corso del tempo cambiano forme, pesi e misure del disadattamento e della vendibilità. E i disadattati vendono la propria differenza e si riadattano. Felici? Questo non si sa. Domenica 2 settembre 2012, ore 22:45, ospedale di Empoli. È la terza volta che vengo qua per fare la notte a mia madre. È ormai un po' di tempo che sta male e che si sente male. I medici non sanno bene cosa fare. Ha problemi di cuore, ma soprattutto di testa. È ansiosa, è depressa e quindi esagera sintomi di malessere che non dovrebbero essere gravi. Ora dorme. Non ricordo se ho già scritto che ho iniziato a occuparmi di arte e cultura perché volevo guarire mia madre, fare l'artista infermiere. È sempre stata male. Pensavo che soffriva perché aveva una cultura sbagliata, che l'avrebbe fatta stare sempre male, una cultura opprimente, povera mamma. Per questo volevo elaborare un'altra cultura. Certo, non sono riuscito a guarirla, come mi pare non sono riuscito a cambiare la cultura dominante e oppressiva. Forse l'ho appena intaccata. Siamo 4 figli. 1, artista infermiere. 2, rappresentante di medicine. 3, infermiera specializzata. 4, disoccupato, rimasto a casa per non far soffrire i genitori. 4 vite dedicate al dolore. È così. 22 gennaio 2013. Treno Roma-Mantova, ore 14:15 circa. Mia madre è morta il 28 ottobre del 2012. Un ematoma alla testa, fatto durante una caduta in uno dei suoi dormiveglia. Cos'altro dire? E io sono ancora in treno, in viaggio, per sopravvivere. Sabato 2 febbraio 2013, ore 18 circa. aeroporto di Parigi CDG, Berlino, Parigi, Pisa. Sto tornando da Berlino. Sì, ma Berlino, Parigi, Pisa è un po' lunga, come all'andata. Risparmio di soldi uguale spreco di tempo. Brutto o strano momento questo. Il 30 gennaio sono arrivato a Berlino e mi hanno comunicato che il mio caro amico Antonio ha bucato le nuvole e se n'è andato in cielo. Ho pianto di nascosto. Aveva un cancro ai polmoni. Ha provato a combattere con armi leggere, sorridendo, ma poi si è dovuto arrendere. Se n'è andato dormendo. A Berlino ho lavorato sorridendo con una nuvola nera dentro. E poi ieri mattina squilla il cielo e Marcantonio dice che Alberto è finito in coma, irreversibile. Cazzo. 2 amici morti in 3 giorni. Ma che c'è, la guerra? E non me ne ero accorto? Cazzo. Chissà quando e come toccherà a me. Amen. Così forse ritrovo tutti gli altri. Non voglio una tomba, voglio essere cremato e le ceneri sparse al vento. Ricordatevelo, eh? Giovedì 23 maggio 2013, ore 20:05. Treno Firenze-Lucca, tornando da Macerata. Circa 15 giorni fa mi si è infiammato il tendine del pollice della mano destra. Avevo un dolore fortissimo e non potevo usare la mano. Non potevo disegnare niente e mi sono accorto che non riuscivo nemmeno a pensare. Mano dolorante, non utilizzabile, uguale difficoltà a pensare. Evidentemente io penso con le mani. Wow, sembra un cervo. Sì. Giovedì 25 giugno 2015, ore 23:10, ospedale San Luca di Lucca. A letto, sono ricoverato, vedo i piedi coperti. Punto di svolta di una malattia iniziata nel gennaio 2014. Sembrava una prostatite trascurata, invece ho un tumore alla prostata. Non operabile. L'ho saputo il 10 novembre 2014, il mio compleanno. Non ho festeggiato. Adenocarcinoma, che nome fantastico, che bel regalo. Sono stato molto male, dolori per fare la pipì che non usciva. Mi hanno messo un tubo nella pancia per quasi 5 mesi. Il tubo nella pancia all'inizio mi ha fatto stare meglio, poi invece mi dava problemi e dolori. Ho imposto ai dottori di toglierlo, davvero l'ho dovuto imporre, e sono stato subito bene. Stamani mi hanno operato per allargare il canale urinario, così dovrei tornare a pisciare bene. non mi ero mai accorto di quanto fosse bello fare la pipì. Che meraviglia! Il tumore adesso è tenuto sotto controllo. Prendo solo pasticche, cura ormonale, una puntura ogni 3 mesi e sto bene. Certo, è buffo dire di stare bene con un cancro tra le palle. Non temo la morte, ma solo il dolore. I dottori dicono che morirò di vecchiaia. Non ho mai visto tanti dottori come in questo ultimo anno. Venerdì 3 agosto 2018, 3 anni dopo, ore 19 circa, in traghetto verso la Sardegna. Vado a fare lo spettacolo con gli ologrammi La piccola storia del melo incantato. Si racconta di mele che guariscono ogni male. Sono passati 3 anni dall'operazione e sono accadute tante cose che non ho avuto il tempo di scrivere. Comunque li riassumo così. 1. Metastasi al bacino davvero dolorose che non immaginavo. Fatte radio e chemio, ma ora sono zoppicante. E ho iniziato una dieta anticancro. No dolci, no alcol, no pane e pasta bianca, quindi niente farine bianche, no carne rossa, no formaggi, non patate, no mais, ma tante verdure, semi, germogli, legumi e frutta con nocciolo, poche mele. Un vero cambio di stile. Sto cercando di rallentare, di prendere tempo e calmitudine e ho deciso di guarire dal cancro. Ho letto di persone che ci sono riuscite, con cure ufficiali, più le alternative e le psicologiche. E ho tanti amici e tante amiche che mi stanno aiutando. E quando guarirò andrò a piedi a Roma, come gli antichi pellegrini, a ringraziare il cielo e la luna e anche le stelle di avermi dato questo cancro da sconfiggere.
قالوا يا شمس غيبي في إلي عنك غنى يا شمس غيبي في إلي عنك غنى ويا شمس غيبي في إلي عنك غنى قالوا اترك البحر روح البر جولي اترك البحر روح البر جولي اقتليني باللطف مش بالرجولي انا ممنون يلي بالرجولي قالوا لي بتقتل بريف الهدى.
Yeah, it's not easy to follow up from this, but we have to. And as Giacomo would have said, that we do with joy and happiness, and also a lot of resistance. And So while I'm speaking, first I want to thank also 𝗥𝗲𝘀𝗁𝗁, that is the theater group that organized this performance with Giacomo, and also wanted to say that after the performance, Giacomo was dancing for 10 minutes, also to create a transition from this moment of pain to something that is more powerful, but then we are not showing it here because, of course, it was more a performative moment. But now we go on with our panel that will be a comment of it, plus also a development beyond, because many of the people that are joining now the stage are people that knew Giacomo, did a lot of things with him, worked with him, and also were doing their own action and practice. So we want to remind Giacomo also not only having a panel that speaks about the past, but also about the present and the future. So I'm happy to call on stage the Superazione collective, 𝗥𝗲𝘀𝗶𝘃𝗶𝘀𝗁 collective, with Murat Önol, Virginia Orrico, and Alessandro Giannetti, and Guido Segni. Please come. So while they get in position, I would like to introduce them properly. In this panel, they will present artistic intervention and also tactics of resistance in the grassroots scene of Italy. The Superazione collective was founded in 2016 to organize an international performance festival in Tuscany. The group wants to promote culture in all its forms, as act of social and personal emancipation and liberation. The 𝗥𝗲𝘀𝗁𝗁 collective instead was founded in Viareggio in 2014 within the Officina 𝗥𝗲𝘀, that is a grassroots cultural space to culturally shake a country, Italy, lacking in cultural initiatives. The collective uses happenings as a mean for free expression and experimentation, strategy of overcoming exclusive places of art. And Guido Segni, that is here close to me, has a background in activism, net art, and video art. He works playing with art, internet culture, and data hallucination. He is the co-founder of 𝗗𝗱𝗏𝗻𝗻𝗄 Invisible. He exhibited in many galleries, museums, and Art and Media Art International Festival. And he teaches at the Fine Art Academy of Carrara and directs the Imaginary Reframed Lab. So now I leave the stage to all of you, and I'm very happy to welcome at the Disruption Lab this great group of people, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Tatiana. I'm Guido Segni. I've been presented here as an artist and an activist, but since I'm speaking here is because I was friend of Giacomo Verde, and I think it is worth saying that Giacomo Verde was a teacher in all the meaning, because he teaches me at the University of Art in Italy, and he is the one who gave me the perspective of what it means to work with digital means. And sorry, because I have to do so many things at the moment. Yeah, in general, from Giacomo, I think that I have learned 3 lessons that I think that is very important for this panel, but also for this event more in general. The lessons are 3. I took the images of the apple because it was a very strong images, but these images also tell something about Giacomo, that is simplicity. He was able to create magic with simple gesture, and this is very important. Even also when we are talking about digital, that it is often very strange and very obscure to talk to a third person. The second lesson is honesty, and to never hide technology. That is very important to me because I'm working with technology, but I don't want to hide it. I want to show the technology and demystify it. Then there is the third lesson, that is to inhabit daily life processes with art. Art should not be inside only institutional spaces, but it should flow outside these institutional places, in the streets, on the internet, and whatever else. It's difficult for me, sorry. So what I want to talk about now is to tell some examples of these three lessons, and they are three examples that took place in the recent 10 years, from the beginning to last year. Giacomo always insisted that all of us organize ourselves into collectives. Even when I was a student with him, he always say me, you have to form a collective, but I was sociopathic and I couldn't do it. But at the end, in 2006, I managed to form a duo, artistic duo, that it was called with a bad French name, that is Le Lien Invisible, which means the invisible connection. It was an artistic duo that was working with digital means, with internet art, and that was watching to the scene of the international scene of net art. It was the period of discover. It was the rising of the Web 2.0. The Web 2.0, and as you can see from the cover of the time, it was that period in which the user became central in the scene of the internet. And I think that in that period we assisted to the shift of the internet toward the platform of users. Here users are intended not as citizens, but as digital creator of contents for digital platforms. And it is also the first shift from the first internet, the early internet, that I remember as the internet of the cooperation, of the networking, to the internet of the competition. Now, every day, we are competing on the internet with followers, likes, and so on. And at that time, I'm speaking about 2008, there were the rise of a platform like YouTube, like Friendster, MySpace, and later Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and so on. And so in this scenario, we were wondering, how can platform design and organization affect daily life and behavior on the internet? And how can art intervene in this situation? At the time, we were fascinated by net art, of course, but also by the old psychogeographic studies and practices of the international situationists. According to the street were dead capital, so what we tried to do was to apply psychogeographic studies to the new user-centered digital environment. We knew and still know that digital interfaces and technology, with all their shiny buttons and glasses and black boxes, they are hiding more and more the complexity of the real. These shiny interfaces don't allow to go beyond this complexity. So, having in mind the 3 lessons of Giacomo Verde, simplicity, honesty, and inhabits daily life spaces, we had quite clear our mission: to intervene on our digital networks and to disclose them and to show their inner contradictions. In 2008 and 2009 were the years of the global rise of Facebook. And why I'm talking about Facebook? Because with Facebook, we assisted to the shift toward a surveillance system. For those who don't remember, the pre-Facebook internet was the internet of anonymity and the internet of, for example, nicknames. Facebook was one of the first examples of a social network made of real people with real names. So we thought that this kind of digital life wasn't worth living. And we built a completely new digital platform called 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗶𝘀𝗁, whose name had been taken from the seppuku. Don't know if you know it, but it's the ancient ritual suicide of the samurai. And the platform looked like Facebook in all parts, apart from the color and the blood interfaces. But the real difference is that we inverted the traditional way of functioning of a social platform. So while Facebook needed your identity to create a map of the connection in your real life, we wanted to dismantle this connection and bring back user to anonymity. Did you ever notice that it is very, very simple to subscribe to a social network and it is very hard to unsubscribe? That's where seppuku came in action. How does it work? Simple. It was very, very simple. You should put your Facebook credential in the platform, and you got seppuku because an algorithm connected with Facebook server and disconnect the user from the platform and delete the presence of the identity from the platform. After that, all the contact of the person who had committed seppuku were receiving a notification to commit seppuku too. That's why it became viral. And then there were some special memorial page that commemorates the leaving from Facebook. Is it okay, the minutes? The project was so funny that almost 20,000 users committed seppuku in about 2 months. That's why Zuckerberg took us very seriously and sent us a cease and desist letter asking us to switch off the website and create a sort of firewall to disconnect seppuku from Facebook. Of course, he cared about users' privacy. But the point here is that it was one of the first times that beyond Facebook ideology, the social network didn't appear as a free agora for a free discussion, but it appeared for what it actually was, a private place for private profits. And the reaction of Facebook's to our project was the plastic depiction of this state of things. Now, there are 5 minutes left, so I have to go quicker. Because I wanted to show also a project, a recent project from 2013 about Amazon Mechanical Turk, that is a project from, that talk about the invisible workforce on the internet. It is a platform where people are paid for microtask. People are paid for microtask for micropayments. So people are paid, for example, 50 cents dollar just to do little things on the internet. Okay, and the particularity of this platform is that when the people who's paying interact with the worker are completely hidden. You just see an alphabetical string that allows you to interact, to talk with, but you can see anything about this kind of people. So, in order of the 3 lessons, to make long story short, after a sort of exploration of the platform, I couldn't resist to inhabit it, and I logged in and I submit a microtask where I ask the worker to show me their middle finger response, and I paid about 50 cents, and the intent was to see what kind of people were behind this platform. And the result it's very strange, because more than 500 people respond, also because I was paying for that. But what came out, it is a photo reportage of this worker. Of course, there is the middle finger response that is funny, but the important thing here is that this part of the internet that was hidden, completely hidden by the interface, now is visible. Okay, I have to hurry up, I'm sorry. The last example I want to briefly introduce is the attempt to inhabiting offline spaces. Also because after the pandemic, all the people, all of us, were constricted to work online for many hours a day. So many people and all the networks that were connected also by the internet felt the urgency to push out these networks from the internet and to touch each other. And in order to commemorate the life of Giacomo Verde, we decided to organize a physical event to physically connect many networks related to activism and artivism, nationally and internationally. The event was called 𝗥𝗲𝘀𝗶𝘃𝗶𝘀𝗁, Actions Beyond Representation. That was a phrase by Giacomo Verde. And the reason of this event will be discussed in detail by Virginia. But what is important now is to say that it was an amazing event organized by many friends that are here and that wanted to raise new questions about how art can intervene in a world dominated by technology. Actually, we didn't find any solution. But I'm still convinced that the 3 lessons from Giacomo Verde are still important. The lessons were simplicity, honesty, and inhabiting real life. That's all.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. No, I do it myself. Thank you. I'm Virginia, and I'm talking for the Dada Boom Collective. I'm a real Dadaist. I am a sister of Jack. I can tell like this. And meanwhile, thanks to Tatiana, to all the Disruption Network Lab for bringing Jack here to Berlin. I'm gonna call Giacomo Verde Jack because of our relationships. So when I talk about Jack, you know Giacomo Verde. And we decided to start with this picture because it is the photo of the embryo of the Little Diary of Ailments. In this picture, Jack was presenting at our place, Officina Dada Boom, in Varignano, suburban neighborhood of Viareggio, Tuscany, the biohazardized medical diary. That was the embryo. And about the music and dance with which it ended, I want to remember that this first version ended with Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive. It was wonderful. And so we as a collective, and also together with Jack, have been working for years on a counterculture gymnasium. Every month, we would build a free participatory call, giving ourselves a theme that would also encourage discussion on current events, politics, specific social issues, social situations, and so on. And we give an art happening boom appointment, during which the works are exposed and discussed collectively. And there are performances, actions, and improvisation of all kinds on the theme, of course. A kind of art festival where the focus is not on the products, but on what is happening and the meaning between those who participate. Jack presented the biohazarded medical diary at an art happening boom called Ailments in September 2016. The theme of that event required precisely the participants to bring on display their own ailments, or those of the world we live in, because bringing them to light is the first step toward healing and revolution. I remember that art happening was born already connected to the later cure. So, ailments and cure. That is, we were asking artists to exhibit an ailment and a month after its cure. And in that art happening, cure, we had the honor of meeting Salvatore Iaconesi and 𝗗𝗱𝗏𝗁𝗏𝗁𝗏, who presented the book The Cure, a global performance to reclaim one's body and identity by creating an open source participatory cure for cancer. Salvatore also at last pierced the clouds, as Jack said. And we take this opportunity to remember another great personality in activism who has passed away. In addition to meeting artists through happenings that we continue to organize until today, the Dada Boom Collective has always done actions with performances that combine the cultural battle against dominant cultures, nonsense, situationism, and conflict practices. We are organic to the movements and struggles on our city, such as the fight for home, for the right to inhabit, the fight against climate change, against the war, and with them, we organize political actions, marches, demonstrations, occupations, and so on. It is difficult to tell you about the Dada Boom experience because it is always different. It is an experiment. What characterizes it is the attempt to connect the social struggles on territory, the urgency of the anti-capitalist movement, and the artists who are often isolated in their intellectual solitude. This is increasingly difficult in Italy, both in the art world and most when dealing with Italian institutions that suppress all issues of struggles and counterculture. And Jack knew this very well. He has paid for it with his career. Since he made Solo Limoni, a documentary on the G8 in Genoa in 2001, he has always had less space on the national and international scene. After a few years of this experience, we felt the necessity of put it down on paper, this intervention and our approach to the art world. And so the Neo-Dadaist Manifesto was born. It was a real birth with labor, as you can see in the picture. And they gave birth to this untranslatable manifesto. A beautiful birth that shortly thereafter led to the reading of the script by Jack itself. This one. What gave us the impetus to write it was an exhibition by the brothers and sisters of Superazione collective, OSO. In Italian means I dare. Artworks without work. An involving exhibition that did not list a series of artworks, but aimed to open spaces of cognitive experience, where the artwork is the medium by which cultural agitation is generated, and not a product, not an aesthetic artwork, but a living artwork. In the manifesto, so, we take up the concept of operations rather than artworks, and declare our position in relation to the art world, which follows the logic of market and capitalist system by spreading a unique cultural model often composed of two sides of the same coin. We have chosen an inverted parenthetic E, like this one. It's an and in Italian language, it means and, as our symbol to cure the bipolarity against of the drama of the O, the or, that always divides mass consciousness into two unique possibilities, neglecting the infinite nuances that make up reality and that countless avenues that can be taken to find solutions and alternatives to the status quo. There are infinite coins for us and infinite sides. It is also difficult to talk about the Neo-Dadaism because Neo-Dada is not, but it does, we say. These experiences are very fluid and experimental and try to respond to a current problem, try to respond to today. And so maybe I will explain it better by telling you about the last operation that we have been running. From a year and a half. For the Neo-Dadaists, the value of an operation is not measured in the materials, but in the behaviors it generates. So, our last operation, demilitarize La Spezia, demilitarize the world, actually is characterized by what happened in La Spezia city, but it was born from before, with the urgency of building a movement in response to to the outbreak of the impending nuclear war. So we marched with an happening through the streets of Viareggio and brought the artists to the national parade against the construction of a new NATO base in Coltano, near Pisa, parading under a banner, an artwork banner, demilitarize the park. In fact, that area threatened by the new military construction is located protected by the regional natural park. So, demilitarize the park. Then, to give continuity to the operation, we exposed the same banner at the Camek in La Spezia city on the occasion of the exhibition Liberare arte da artisti, the exhibition of our comrade, Giacomo Verde. In this exhibition, a period had been dedicated to Jack activism, and we collectives had been assigned an entire wall for the duration of artivism as the 𝗥𝗲𝘀𝗶𝘃𝗶𝘀𝗁 Museum. This one. The 𝗥𝗲𝘀𝗃𝗶𝘃𝗁 Museum is another very important Neo-Dadaist operation, the longest running one, conceived by Jack himself and presented during the OSO exhibition I mentioned before, and still carried on by us and Superazione in respect of Jack's will. It is the creation of artivist actions wherever nature is threatened by devastation, speculation, or profits, such as in Coltano, Pisa, with the new NATO base. In this case, we worked in defense of the regional park And then once we arrived in La Spezia city, we chose a site-specific critique target. La Spezia is one of the most militarized cities in Italy. A scenically incredible gulf crashed on a crystal clear sea that, however, you can only look but not touch, because it is entirely occupied by the Navy arsenal. So we did our Omaggio Giugno performance, where I shut out the lyrics of Technological Artivism by 𝗥𝗲𝘀𝗶𝘀𝗁, which I hope we can soon translate into English, maybe. And the no-names, we can see them in green. The no-names, a musical duo, played an excellent noise at very high volume. Gigi Blue brushed his teeth, you can see in the picture, and the boxers wrote on our wall, with punches soaked in red tempera, demilitarize La Spezia. From what turned out, yeah, that's the boxers. From what turned out, we would have liked to live to evolve the wall and the artivistic and interactive intervention for about 2 months. But after not even 2 days, came the censure with a letter from the municipality of La Spezia city and from the 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 Museum, ordering the repair of the wall to its initial condition and kicking the collectives to which Giacomo belonged out of the Giacomo exhibitions. I'm sorry. This is, I would like to stay here. And this is, in short, these are the behaviors that our operation so far has generated in the institutions. We obviously refuse to erase our work and go to 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 to pick up our other artworks. There, Alessandrone enacts the performance O Giugno o Luglio, no censorship. He cuts his chest, and with his blood, he writes on the new immaculate wall, demilitarize the word. Fortunately, at this point, our operation also manages to generate behavior in the other artivists involved in the exhibition, who dissociated themselves, like Guido and Tatiana. Tatiana withdrew her programming for the month of December from 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 and built Artivism, Actions Beyond Representations, a panel dedicated to the memory of Giacomo Verde in our space in Varignano. And this our new space in Varignano is an abandoned school that we have occupied and recovered from the degradation of the suburbs, together with the housing struggle and other associations such as 𝗥𝗲𝗀𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁 days, which in turn generated the birth of artivism today, as told by Guido. And still other behaviors that generated our operation, I'm sorry, I'm very nervous, is this, for example, in the neighborhood of La Spezia, where they don't even see the sea because it remains behind the wall of the military arsenal, this quartier called Marola. An assembly was born under the name Demilitarized La Spezia, Demilitarized the World, in solidarity with our censorship and to reactivate the city's anti-militarist networks. They built a meeting in the square so that our work and those words would be visible from the entire city. Investigations were developed from below, and that led to the publication of books of denunciations of the NATO blue bases. This reaction, this is de facto solidarity, has already overpowered the only repressive behavior brought forward by the institutions that demanded the idea not to leave the museum, and that idea, it has come out all right. That idea, demilitarized La Spezia, and came out from the museum and bouncing all around Italy, becoming one of the buzzwords of the anti-militarist movement. This, for us, is already the value of our operations. But the operation is not over. How could it be? The war intensifies, so does 𝗥𝗱𝘀𝗶𝘀𝗺, its propaganda. And all we can do is to continue to communicate, to converge, and to advance other worldviews. So in May, we carried out the 𝗥𝗲𝘀𝗺 happening, 𝗥𝗲𝘀𝗺. I don't know if you can understand the game in this word. Against the war and with the aim of discussing the La Spezia situation, also with the neighbor territories equally affected by the militarizations of NATO bases, such as Coltano, I mentioned before, Livorno, where the Camp Derby base insists. In Italy, in fact, this is a huge problem. In order to finance the rearmament and the construction of new NATO military bases, funding continues to be cut back on culture, education, social policy, and energy reconversation. And after that, we participated together with Tuscan militants and artists in the early June in a political demonstration, we can see in the video, in La Spezia, with a performance at the end of the procession, where this time the writing, the militarized La Spezia, stood out on the backs of people lined up in front of the entrance of the arsenal. And that's what we are. And to get to today, Operation Demilitarize La Spezia, Demilitarize the World continues after the institution reacted again by also repressing Alessandrone's performance. This time, however, with a criminal decree of conviction for 3 months in prison, commutated in €3,000 fine. Obviously, we have appealed the conviction and are preparing to face a trial with dignity to release the words, demilitarize the world, and defend every struggle for dissent to war, against war thinking, against the culture of war and its spectacularization, and against the most subject form of power. So we would also like to take this opportunity to issue this call to the arts. Let us make these words resonate everywhere. We propose a call to the arts that is as open as possible to any anti-militarist experimentation. Demilitarize the world. Let us take these 3 words and represent them, express them, cross them, and above all, spread them with the greatest freedom of choice, without limits of technique or format, using brush, digital, blood, voice, body, plastic, or magic, a sticker, a performance in a public area, an installation in a locus amenus, or in front of the military sites, in the street, at school, at the bar. Demilitarize the world. So, if you participate, send your operation to call@artivism.today in photo or video by the 1st of January of 2024. And they will be uploaded to artivism.today for dissemination and archiving. In addition, the collection of all the artworks received will be exposed in front of the La Spezia court on January the 10th, 2024, the day of the first hearing of the 𝗥𝗲𝘀𝗺 trial. You are all invited to the vernissage, and let's do it.
Hello to everybody. My name is Murat. Last year, Tatiana, Clemente, and I spoke about Jacques at the symposium It's Not the End of the World in the Dolomite Mountains in Italy, close to Venice. When it was my turn, I started by asking the audience the following question. How many of you are against private property? It was actually a provocation, but I fell into my own trap. Far fewer people were against private property than I had expected. Actually, I was hoping that someone would ask me what kind of private property we are talking about. For example, is it theft when a worker buys a house with the money he has earned with his savings, just like Marx did with Proudhon? Because only with such a question can we go beyond this abstract slogan, private property is theft, and possibly explore all the cultural, economic, and political structures related to private property. If Jacques were in the audience, I'm sure he would have asked this question. He has always been the one to lift the veil on appearances with his art. For him, art was a way of thinking and acting simultaneously rather than just an aesthetic investigation. It was a way to analyze his experiences and strive for liberation. And for him, emancipation was every step he took on this path. I don't know if any of you have seen the Comic Museum in La Spezia. From the outside, you might think it is just a museum, as it says on the door. But appearances and reality don't always coincide. The two performances we did last year at the Giacomo's retrospective showed us that we had crossed the line set by neoliberal democracies, a line that should not be crossed. In fact, the values of rights and law, which are supposed to exist in these democracies, become useless in the face of the values determined by the capitalist economy. Against regulations, internal protocols, and bureaucracy, rights and laws turn into a web of contradictions. And at the end of the day, the economy decides who will stay inside and who will remain outside, who is useful and who is useless. At CAMEC, as Collettivo Superazione, we formed indulgences to criticize today's art and culture world for their sins. We don't have a religion or a church. We are not yet prophets, and we don't see it as a moral question. So the issue is not a battle between the good, the bad, and the ugly. The issue is the relationship of the entire art and culture sector with the neoliberal economy, its dependence on it, its inability to break free, and the fact that many people in the art and culture sector believe that only cultural Marxism or other alternative ideas to capitalism can solve the actual problems we are facing. However, in the temporary autonomous zone, we can only have dinner with all friends, while the neighbor's house is burning down. As Rio Dada crew, we try to show with our performance how La Spezia is cornered because of the naval base in the city. The only way out of such a situation is to break down the economic walls. Of course, no one could have imagined that a hole would actually appear in the museum's wall. The sunlight shining through the hole gave hope to the audience, but blinded the institution's directors and some of the organizers. Since then, we have continued to work on the Demilitarized World project because we feel that we are inevitably approaching to the Third World War, what Baudrillard would probably have called the Fifth World War. I am old enough to remember the Yugoslav War. That blind rage and carnage were once again presented to us as a battle, as a duel between the good, the bad, and the ugly. But in '99, Alan Maxine Wood wrote the following: "Forget humanitarian motives. This is about US global hegemony. And more immediately, it is about the role of NATO as the US conduit to Europe, at a time when the European Union is developing as a major pole of global capitalism that United States need to control. Today, imperialism is not really about the relation between a capitalist and a non-capitalist world. Imperialism today is taking place in the context of what we have been calling the universalization of capitalism. How it is more a matter of ensuring that the forces of the capitalist market prevail in every corner of the world, even if this means marginalizing and impoverishing parts of it, and of manipulating those market forces to the advantage of the most powerful capitalist economies and the United States in particular. It's not just a matter of controlling particular territories, it's a matter of controlling a whole world economy and global markets everywhere and all the time. And now we find ourselves in 2023. China has surpassed the US as an economic power and ongoing development. Finance capitalism is facing the last bastion of the production-based economy while grappling with the clash between the proponents of regulation and deregulation. And we all know very well that there can be only one ruler in capitalism. I remember when I was a child in a room in my grandmother's house, my older brother and cousin were dancing to 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. The sun shining into the room was filled with hope. I joined them in dancing, feeling happy. And now I understand that the entry of a Swedish band singing in English into the room of a middle-class house in Istanbul was actually a form of Anglo-Saxonization. It provides pleasure while sucking our blood. Years later, my brother came to visit me in Italy. We slept in the same bed. When he woke up in the morning, he turned to me and said, "Chiquitita, tell me what's wrong." And I will tell you what is wrong. Sweden is trying to join NATO. If Jack were alive, he would ask me and my comrades this question: what are we going to do about it? I will conclude this talk by reading a few lines from a poem written by Brecht in 1928. And afterwards, I will do the only thing I know with Alessandro, whether I'm creative, talented, successful, useful, or not. So here is the poem. Long before we were killed in aimless battles, we were still wandering aimlessly through cities that were then still standing. Our women were already widows, and our children orphans.
So thank you again for this great performance and panel, and I also wanted to mention that Virginia will spread the call to their action and also leave it on the chairs for the next panel. And please also ask everyone to join and spread this call, because it's important also for their trial that will happen next year in January, as they said. And specifically also wanted to thank you to mention Salvatore Iaconesi, that was also a very important person in the network in Italy about artivism, hacking and art. So yes, I think it was very important to also have his name in this context. And I just then want to conclude to saying thank you again and remind everyone that we have now a break of 30 minutes. And then we meet again for the keynote of today, Unmasking Power as Art, Sharing Tactics and Practice with the Yes Man and Cornelia Solfranc. So please come back, and thank you again.